Hello, everyone. Welcome in to the Nathan Marzion Show with Brian and Eckel, as always. It is June 20th, 2024. This is the first time we have done an episode in a while, but we've got a big offseason coming up. Bucks obviously lost in the first round. I did plenty of podcast stuff and tweets and all that about that, but we are past that. The NBA Finals is over. We're not going to talk about who won the finals. And the season's over, and now it is NBA draft time, and it is off-season time. It is free agency time. It is trades time. It's all that. So we're going to get into our favorite NBA draft prospects for the Bucks. We're each going to name 5 guys. We have 5 different guys each, so we'll basically be talking about 10 guys total, and we're going to go from our 5th favorite guy to our number 1 favorite guy each, and talk a little about our favorite guys for this draft. Bucks have the 23rd and 33rd picks of the draft, and for those that don't know, the draft is actually 2 days now. It starts next Wednesday, the 26th, and then the second round is on the 27th, the following day. So, first off, I want to ask you, Brandon, do you think the draft being 2 days, do you like it? How do you think it affects possibly the Bucks with trades or, having more time to trade and all that stuff? So what are your thoughts on the 2-day draft, which is the first time it's happening, I think, ever? So
Yeah, I mean, I like it having it one day. I know that you brought up a good point with it gives a team, especially like a team like the Bucks, like another day to kind of like take a step back, look at potential trades, if they still have that pick. But I always like having it one day. Maybe it's just because I like, having all the picks that one day, watching it all unfold. But with it only being 2 rounds and not that many guys, usually the second round kind of flies through. So I feel like it's going to be a little like anticlimactic for the second round, especially this year with a little bit of a down draft.
the second round is going to be for the true NBA sickos. Like, it's for the
Yeah,
people that are like, like us, who are just like studying the draft and we're like, we really want this guy at number 33. Like, it's for those type of people. If you're just a casual NBA fan, you are not watching the second round of any NBA draft, let alone this draft, which is, supposedly one of the worst, or likely to be one of the worst in a while. So
yeah,
yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I probably would prefer it to be one day, but again, for the Bucks' sake, I'm kind of glad they have a little bit more time to possibly, draft someone at 23, and then they have a whole day to trade 33, or maybe they trade 23 and they have a whole day to get ready for who they want to pick at 33. So we'll see what happens. But all right, let's get into our favorite prospects. I know we've both been talking a lot about our favorite prospects. We text back and forth about it. And you get us started. Who's your 5th favorite on this list? And like I said, we're trying to name 5 guys. So
yeah. So number 5, I got Bobby Clintman. You and I have talked about him a little bit. I think he's about 21 years old, 6'10", so he's a little bit bigger size, even though he's a little bit smaller frame. Um, from watching him, he's pretty raw overall. And I know you and I were kind of talking. You're like, it seems like he's 2, maybe 3 years away. Even though he has experience at both the college level and he was playing in the NBL this year, where he put up 10 points a game. So I mean, pretty solid. And he's a decent shooter. He's got good potential on defense. He blocks a lot of shots. But I think his fit with the Bucks, as you said, wouldn't be ideal right now just because of he's not ready to come in and make an impact. Um, he's not super versatile driving to the hoop. If you watch his clips, he he has a lot where he either throws up an air ball away, goes for a layup, or like miss it off the backboard. Um, but he's got, he's got some playmaking in him too, especially catching it in the post. So I think he's a guy that, if we hang on to the picks, which I was going to ask you about before we move to yours, um, if you would fall to 33 and you get someone at 23, I'm okay taking a swing at a guy like this. But I mean, I know how you feel, but tell the people, what's your opinion on the Bucks picks and what do you want them to do ideally with the picks?
yeah, we probably should have led with this, because for me, I think the best case scenario is the Bucks trade at least one of the picks. I don't think drafting 2 rookies is the right move, because if you draft 2 rookies, you essentially have those 2 rookies plus Marzion plus Chris Livingston plus AJ Green plus Andre Jackson. That's 6 roster spots being taken up by guys in either basically their first or second year of meaningful NBA basketball. Um, that's not ideal for a championship contending team. I know people want youth and they want this team to get younger and quicker and all that stuff, and I do too. But to me, that if you're going to use both of these draft picks, it must mean that you're trading away Marjan and Livingston at least, because you're not going to have that many young guys on this roster, especially a team, we've talked about this, especially a team with Doc Rivers as the coach should not have that many young guys on the end of the bench, because from Doc's history, it is not likely, no matter who they take in this draft, that those guys are going to get meaningful minutes and get as many minutes as maybe NBA Twitter or Bucks Twitter wants them to get. Because that's what we've seen throughout throughout his career. We saw it with Bud, and now we're probably going to see the same thing with Doc. They seem to have a similar mindset with playing young guys. So to me, the goal is be as good as possible for next season.
Mhm.
That's how it has to be. You have Giannis, you have Dame, you have Chris. Dame and Chris are getting right near the end of their really good playing days, and you have to capitalize. This isn't about, oh, we need to try to get some prospects that can help us in 2026, 27. No, this is about winning a title in 2025. So with that in mind, yes, ideally you trade the picks. Now, if there really is nothing out there that they can get a meaningful upgrade, and they're kind of like, well, we probably just have to use these picks and try to trade guys later. Okay, fine. But the guys they draft, I would ideally want to be more win now, higher floor, NBA ready prospects. Because again, I just want guys that can contribute right away. And that's the reason why I'm not as high on Bobby Klintman. Now, I do have him as one of the guys that I'd be fine if they drafted him. Like if they drafted Bobby Klintman, I'd be definitely a little disappointed because I'm like, okay, he's not quite NBA ready. He's probably not going to help right away. I don't
Mhm.
think he's helping us win a title in 2025, which again to me is the goal. But he is very intriguing with his potential on both ends. Like you said, he's got good versatility. He's got length. His defensive versatility is pretty solid. And he's good in transition. So yeah, and his shooting's pretty smooth too. Like he's a pretty good shooter. When I watched him, I was like, you could usually tell with a guy's shot watching them if they are a shooter or not. And he looks like a shooter. So I
Mhm.
trust his shot will be good. I trust that he will eventually be a good defender. Um, but again, my main issue with it is he's just a couple years away from being, a true impact player, I think, in the NBA. And so with that in mind, I'm like, okay, he's probably lower on my list. So yeah. And I wanted to ask you as well. What do you think as far as trading the picks? Is your ideal scenario to trade them, to keep them, to trade one? And I will say, if I had to trade one pick, I'm trading 23 based on how my board is right now with the draft. I have a lot of guys I like that will probably be available at 33, and only a
Mhm.
few guys that like they'd have to take at 23. So for me, I'm like, I'd rather just have 33, trade 23, get what you can get for it, plus, attach Pat Connaughton, Marjan, Bobby to it. I mean, everyone knows I want to trade Bobby, but I'm not going to go into that too much. But that would be my ideal scenario. And then you can just use 33 on like one of these. I mean, I'll get into some of the guys I like, but these more NBA ready, just like can help you on the end of the bench type of players, while still making a meaningful upgrade with that 23rd pick. So that would be what I would do.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, especially because of some of the names that you and I have thrown out. There's a few guys where if we're a few spots higher, I think, hey, we could go get this guy that I'm sure we'll talk about one or two later. But to me, I do agree with you. And, throwing Bobby on here as you and I have talked, this is one of those things of like, if we keep 23 and 33, I personally am fine with taking a swing on a guy like this because you're not going to play both rookies, especially with the guys you have. So ideally, you get a win now guy at 23, and Clinton's kind of like a project. Like, hey, if his shot really comes along and he's learning behind Bobby or, sorry, Brooke, and even like Giannis, and can kind of fit into that role in 1 to 2 years and bulks up, that's great. But if this is our only draft pick, then I'd be disappointed. So I agree with you on, I think I'd like to trade 23, keep 33, because I do think you could get a solid guy dropping down that's a little bit older. I think that's where this draft's going to be interesting because you can find a lot of those guys that are juniors and seniors that slip down in the draft just because they're older. But for the Bucks, that's something that we're looking for to help out now. So
All right, I'm going to get into my fifth guy, which is Daron Holmes out of Dayton. He is a very intriguing big man. He's athletic. He's mobile. Has good defensive versatility for his size. Like he can move. He's not a big that is lumbering around on the perimeter. He can block shots down low, but he can also get out on the perimeter a little bit and defend. Offensively, he's really good finishing. He's really good in the post, but he also last season became a really good 3-point shooter. He went from 14% from the three in his freshman year, 32% his sophomore year, and then 39% last year. His free throw percentage has gone up every year, which is always a good sign for someone shooting trajectory, which went from 59% to 67% to 71% last year. And last year, this number shocked me. Last year, he shot 21 of 36 on unguarded catch and shoot threes. That's 58% on unguarded catch and shoot threes, which if he's on the Bucks, we see what those shots that Brook Lopez normally gets as a big on the Bucks. Normally, the threes you are taking are pretty unguarded. They're off the catch. He's not going to take many dribble jumpers or anything. Um, it is a great sign that he's able to cash in on those at such a high rate. And I think personally, I like him more than a guy we'll get into later, Kel'el Ware. Both of them are fine for me. Like I'm fine with Kel'el Ware, but as I have dug deeper into this, at first going into the offseason, I was higher on Kel'el Ware, but as I've kind of dug deeper, I've liked Deron Holmes more, and I think he's a little bit more NBA ready. I think he has fewer question marks. The only ones, like the only question marks he has, could he get a little bit stronger? Yes. Like he might not be able to really bang down low with centers right away in his NBA career. He can be a little bit turnover prone. He only has the one good season of shooting, which isn't a reliable sample, but it is, again, looking at his free throw percentage going up every year, his 3-point percentage going up every year, it's very realistic to just say, okay, he's become a good shooter. Like he's gotten better every year. And like those are really the only question marks. I don't really have a ton that I'm worried about with Deron Holmes. I think that he's going to be able to space the floor a little bit, be an athletic big who can, run be a screener and roller and catch lobs. He dunks a ton at the rim. We talked about that, me and you.
Mhm.
Like he's a great finisher because he just goes up strong and dunks it. And I think that's almost the opposite of what Kel'el Ware is. And one of my biggest issues with Kel'el Ware, which again we'll get into, but Kel'el Ware is much less physical, much less aggressive. He's more of a go up and lay it up and go up and shoot a hook shot rather than go up strong and slam it down. Kel'el Ware had Deron Holmes had the sixth most dunks in all of college last season. So yeah, and blocked 2.1 shots per game, 2.6 assists per game, so he can pass a little bit. He's got good feel. I think he's just a smart player. So there's so much I like about him. I only have him fifth because I do think, again, there's just other guys I think are like completely NBA ready for the Bucks that can come in right away, fill an immediate need, and like defensively and be great right away off the bench. I think Deron Holmes needs a little bit of time, and if I knew the Bucks were going to give him an entire season of playing him decent minutes and giving him a chance to grow and be ready for like the 2025 playoffs next season, I might have him higher. I just don't trust that would happen. I would think that they're just going to stash him and then use him next year, which again, for me isn't totally ideal because I'm trying to win a title next year. That's my number one goal. But again, Deron Holmes, really like him. And, if we ended up with him, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I totally agree, and, if you want me to get into number 4, I have Ware, at
All right.
number 4 from Indiana, and I would have Holmes above him. Again, we kinda split
Okay.
it up so that we both did 5. Um,
Yeah.
all the things you said, you look at Ware and you look at his stats, you're like, "This is the this is, like, what you want to be a Brook replacement." He averaged 16 and 10, blocked 2 shots a game. He's a solid 7 feet tall, he's not, like, 6'10". He's a solid 7 feet, pretty athletic, kinda like in that Derek Lively range. But where he's not Derek Lively is the focus, the effort, the intensity, in my opinion. And like you said, he's a little. I had said to you, he's soft down low. Like you said, he doesn't really go up to dunk it a lot. He's more of a finesse guy. And at 7'2", I don't really like that, unless you're a unicorn like a Giannis or a Wemby. Um, but and you look at his shooting numbers, he shot 40, I think, let's see, yeah, 43% from three last year, but he hardly took like 1.5 a game. So it wasn't like he was shooting 3 or 4 threes a game. Um, so to me, he's one of those guys that I think goes higher to a team that wants to take a swing on like a big that could pan out. But I don't think he's, to your point, ready now. And maybe he's a guy where if you get him in the right system, you could get him to have better focus and intensity. But again, we don't have the time to wait for that. We kind of need a guy that's ready to do that now. So I don't mind him, but I wouldn't be super thrilled with him at 23.
Yeah, and the advantage I'd say with Ware over Holmes is just his size. Ware is 7'1" with a 7'5" wingspan. Deron Holmes is 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. So like that is something that I guess with Holmes there is a little bit of a question mark. And again, another reason I have Holmes fifth compared to like second is okay, he's 6'10". Is he like, can he come in right away and be like a center, or is he going to be
Yeah.
more of a power forward? Can he be a big right away, or is he going to take a couple of years to need to add strength and really become a center? Duran or Kello Ware just looks like he can be, he's a center. That's what he is. He's got a 7'5" wingspan, which is absurd.
Yeah.
And like the talent level, I'd say if you're telling me who has more upside, it's probably Kello Ware, but I think Duran Holmes is definitely safer. And I think I have the same, like when I watched Khalil Ware and kind of dug into him a little bit more in the, like a month ago when I actually went and watched some videos on him and read about him, like I was a little bit disappointed because I thought I was gonna absolutely love the guy and be like, this is the Brook Lopez replacement. I like this is the guy and he's great. And I was a little bit like, he plays a little bit soft, he plays a little bit timid, he doesn't always seem like he's locked in, he doesn't seem like he's super aggressive. And it's like those are things that you can't always just teach someone. Like you can't just tell someone, "Hey, be more aggressive," and they're going to be more aggressive. Like that can just be who you are. Is you're just more of a timid player, and that worries me a little bit. So it's like he almost kind of worries me. He's like just a bigger Christian Wood in that sense. Where like, is he actually a winning type of player, or is he just like a talented?
Yeah.
Okay, this guy's intriguing with his length and skills, but he's not really going to actually help you win a ton and never going to really reach his full potential. But again, the talent is there. So I still like him. I still would be happy with him, but not quite as much as Deron Holmes. And again, I think Deron Holmes is a much more proven shooter, having now higher volume with his threes and shooting
Mhm.
39% compared to Ware who didn't shoot much. And Ware is only like a 63% free throw shooter, so that's a little bit worrisome too. Of can he consistently hit threes? So yeah, I mean, I think we both agree Deron Holmes slightly over Khalil Ware, and I don't think Khalil Ware will likely be there at 23 anyways. But there is a chance he starts to fall a little bit, especially with again those concerns about the effort and all that. That's something that could maybe make teams on draft night all of a sudden say, and we're going to go with someone else. So, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up. All right, my number 4 guy, Keshad Johnson from Arizona. He is a forward, super athletic, 6'7", 225, 23 years old. So he's an older prospect, a little bit more NBA ready, but he's big, he's athletic. He can move really well. And his athleticism pops. When you watch his highlights, the first things you'll see is like the dude will catch lobs in transition, will catch lobs cutting to the basket. He just got that leaping ability and that just pop to him that not a lot of prospects have, especially guys that Keshad Johnson's going in the mid-second round in most drafts or in most mock drafts. And it's like, for a guy to have this level of athleticism at that stage in the draft could be a steal. He became a really good 3-point shooter last season, 40% on catch and shoot threes, and that was on 91 total attempts, so pretty good volume. Great finisher at the rim. He was the 85th percentile as a finisher, dunks the ball a ton. As I said, just he's very athletic, so he's able to finish very well. And he was a good rebounder, almost 6 per game. And you and I had mentioned how like on Arizona they had a lot of players on their team. They had a lot of guys, and
Yeah.
Keshad Johnson and another guy we're going to get into later. He put up like 12 points a game, 6 rebounds, a couple assists. Like that's not easy to do on a team with that many guys. You have to kind of make your mark and actually be really impactful to put up those numbers. So it's a good sign that he was able to do that on an Arizona team that had several guys, in this draft and several good players. The downsides with him, he doesn't really create his own shot off the dribble. He doesn't have a mid-range game. He can be a little bit slow sometimes defensively, but I know a lot that right away would make people go, "Oh, not for the Bucks. We need quickness. But he makes up for it by being very athletic and very big. So I'm not super worried about it compared to someone like Bobby, who isn't the most athletic and is also slow. So then it's like he just gets beat off the dribble and can't really make up for it. I'm not too worried about Keshad Johnson on the defensive end. I think he's going to be really good. And then, just the shooting stuff. Okay, he had a great season last year, but he was only 25% from three his first 4 years combined. So was last season legit at 39%? I'm not totally sure.
Mhm.
But he did, again, looking at the free throw shooting, which is always a good indicator. He started his career at like 50%. Like he was a very poor free throw shooter, but he is now up to 71%. So good sign for his shooting trajectory. So it's like he's a forward who's big, athletic, can shoot the three off the catch, can catch lobs in transition, and defends at a very high level on the perimeter and down low. So I love so much about Keyshawn Johnson, especially for a guy, going in the second round. My comparisons for him are kind of like an athletic Jay Crowder. Like he does the Jay Crowder stuff, but I think he's got way more like leaping ability, and like shot blocking, lob catching ability than Jay Crowder. Kind of like a Dorian Finney-Smith as well. So, and those are like guys that prime Jay Crowder and Dorian Finney-Smith, like I would love on this Bucks team. It's unfortunate we got
Yeah.
washed Jay Crowder instead of prime Jay Crowder, but I was actually just talking about that the other day where I was like, damn it, or I think it was Preston I was talking to, but I was like, damn, it just sucks because I wanted Jay Crowder on the team for so many years, and then we finally get him, but it was when he was already, his best days were behind him. So,
Yeah.
um, I do really like Keshad Johnson for the Bucks.
And one thing I wanna add too that I know we'll talk about with one guy in particular later, but this is another guy where he knows what it's like to be a role player on a good team, especially when, because he came over from San Diego State, right?
Yeah,
So he knows what it's like to be kind of a role player on a really good team, even this Arizona team. He was third or fourth option. To still be able to score and kind of like make an impact on the game at the college level, I think shows kind of like the maturity as a player of like, hey, I don't have to be the star player on this team. I'm doing my job, helping the team where I can. So,
yeah. All right, let's get into our top three.
all right, my number three is a guy I like a lot. You're not a huge fan of his fit with the Bucks, Baylor Shireman.
I had it out there before you even said it.
I'll start with a little bit of the negatives, which I totally get. He's slow on defense. While I do think he can be somewhat switchable because of his size, I know he's just overall not a great defender. He's kind of like in that Luka realm of like he's a little bit bigger, stockier, but like it's just kind of an effort thing a little bit, and he lacks a little bit of that athleticism. However, great rebounder. I don't have exactly his rebound stats, but I want to say he averaged 8 or 9 rebounds a game.
Yeah, I
Um,
think he was. I think he was eight, which is
yeah,
which is pretty wild. Yeah.
yeah, like a 6'7", 6'8" guy. So he's kind of like that. It's kind of like a point forward ish because he's a pretty good playmaker.
Oh, he was 9.0.
Okay, 9.0. Yeah, so I mean, he's great at grabbing rebounds, especially in traffic. Um, I really like his playmaking upside as another like a wing that can create his own shot, catch and shoot off the dribble. He can do all those things. Shot 39% from three for his college career, which he ended up playing about 5 seasons. Was down a little bit on Creighton as a 3-point shooter, but in the tournament shot 48% over their 3 games. And I mean, he was playing, pretty much 40 minutes a night and averaged just under 8 attempts. So he made, about half of his attempts in March Madness, which to me is another one of those things of like, this guy has proven that in big games on the big stage, he can make those plays and hit shots. And I think at times, maybe when he struggled, it was because either he was pressing too much or he's asked to do a lot. But I think going into an NBA role, I think he could really slide in nice. It's just the defensive side and the kind of lack of like athleticism and defense is what would make me a little nervous. But I think you can make up for that with guys like, AJ Green and Andre Jackson, whoever you kind of plug in those other spots. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't dislike Shireman as a prospect overall. I just don't love him as a fit for the Bucks because looking at him for a lot of teams, he'd make sense. He's can shoot really really well. He rebounds really really well. He's like you said, a very good underrated playmaker. I think like he can handle the ball, run an offense a little bit. He was in the 98th percentile as a pick and roll ball handler. So he can easily run an offense for you. It's just for the Bucks, the two number the top two things I'm looking for from a prospect that the Bucks were lacking last season is defense and athleticism. And if you don't check either of those boxes, it's like I just can't get too excited about it. Do I think he could come to the Bucks and be decent. Yeah. I just don't think he fills the holes that we have. I think he'd be just another guy that's like, yes, he kind of adds to our strengths, but he doesn't fill any of our weaknesses. And, the only thing I think that he could bring that we don't totally have is ball handling off the bench. Like that's the only thing. But I don't think that that's as much of a need as defense or athleticism or speed, which he just does not have. To me, his ideal, like best case outcome is he's Joe Ingles.
Mm.
Good player, but would I want Joe Ingles on the Bucks? No, that's not who I want to add to the Bucks right now. Like that's, again, maybe a couple years ago, yes, I was happy to get Joe Ingles. But I'm not looking for Joe Ingles on the Bucks right now. It just doesn't fit what we need. Again, I like him as an overall prospect, just not my favorite for the Bucks. But yeah, I mean, knowing our history of draft picks, like I feel pretty confident that the Bucks will draft Baylor Shireman because it's always like one guy that I'm like, okay, he has some good skills and some intriguing parts of his game, but overall, I just don't like it. That's usually who they end up drafting. Is a guy that I'm like slightly like I kind of like, but for the most part, don't like. And I feel like Baylor Shireman fits that mold perfectly. So expect the Bucks to draft Baylor Shireman in probably the second round. So
Well, it's funny you say that too because I'm kind of 50%. I bring up Sam Merrill. I think you and I both liked him at Utah State, and I was like, "Please take him." We took him as the last pick. Obviously, never really cracked the rotation. Showed that he can play, or shoot with Cleveland. And my other guy, I vouched for, and I still got to stick by is Marzion. So two guys I've wanted that, um, the Bucks ended up drafting. So I hope you're right. And to me, again, if we can get one of these guys we really like if we keep both picks at 23, I think he's a really good pick at 33 if he's a second guy. But again, if he's the only guy you draft or like you could have traded for somebody else, I agree with you. There's better fits, but I think he could be a nice plug and play guy to have just as an option. So
all right, my number 3 is our secret favorite draft prospect for the Bucks. If you're not a Louisiana Tech basketball fan or a total NBA draft junkie, you probably do not know who this player is. You probably have never heard of him, and you're going to be like, "Who?" Isaiah Crawford. Remember the name? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, we don't know. He might end up being nothing, but Isaiah Crawford. Look him up. Went to Louisiana Tech. He is 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. 22 years old, 220 pounds. He is arguably the most disruptive defender at the college level. He averaged just a ridiculous 2.1 steals and 1.7 blocks per game last season. He was the only player in the nation to do that. Like, if you don't know how crazy that is, it's nuts. It's like averaging 32 points and 12 assists. Like, it just doesn't happen. 2.1 steals, 1.7 blocks. I looked it up. He is the second player since 2011 to do that in a college season while playing at least 1,000 minutes. The only other was Matisse Thybulle in 2018, who has become a very good defender. That was a good pull. That was a good stat pull, I would say.
that was a great stat pull.
So like just in terms of the defensive like disruption, playmaking, and just those stats. I know those stats don't like steals and blocks don't tell the whole story of whether you're a good defender,
Yeah.
but watching him and then you also look at those numbers, it's like, holy cow, I think someone like what's his name, Reed Shepard, who's going in the top 5 to 10 of this draft, like he gets a lot of steals, but I watch him and I'm like, I don't think he's going to be a great defender overall. He just gets steals and he's kind of pesky and can do that. Whereas when you watch Isaiah Crawford, it's like he not only generates steals and blocks, he is just a fantastic defender, moves his feet well. He's got the length, as I said, a 7-foot wingspan, great strength. Like he's built. He has some really impressive defensive highlights. If you look him up and watch some of them, I know you have to dig a little bit for him because he does, again, he played for Louisiana Tech, but man, he is intriguing. And offensively, like we've talked about, Ryan Dunn, someone we're not going to mention in this podcast, but Ryan Dunn is, probably the best defender in the class, but he has almost no offensive game. Can't handle the ball, can't shoot. Like he can't really do anything offensively.
Yeah.
Whereas Isaiah Crawford is, I'd say 90% as good defensively, but he can do things offensively. Offensively, he is like a poor man's Chris Middleton. And he is not overly bursty. Like, he's not going to blow by you. He's not a fantastic ball handler, just like Chris, but he gets to his spots. He can score at all three levels. He's pretty strong. He can like get to the rim when he wants to, shoot off the catch. He shot 41% on catch and shoot threes, 50% on threes when he was unguarded off the catch, 20 out of 40, 39% threes off the dribble, 43% mid-range shots off the dribble. He's very good at, just like Chris, kind of maneuvering his way into the paint, even, again, kind of being a little bit slower, but getting into the paint with his strength, getting to his spots, hitting turnaround, fadeaways, jumpers off the dribble in the mid-range. And then he's a 63% shooter at the rim. So he also can finish at the rim. The main concern with him, and the reason you probably have never seen him on a lot of mocks, number one, he went to Louisiana Tech. So naturally he hasn't played against the best competition. That's an understandable question mark with him. And number two, he had 2 ACL injuries during his college career, which definitely is a red flag. But if this dude stays healthy, he could legitimately be like the total steal of this draft as either an undrafted free agent or a late second round pick. Like, I don't even think the Bucks would need to use 33 on him. I think they could probably trade back and get him, or even get him undrafted. But
Yeah.
I am going to be very closely monitoring what happens with Isaiah Crawford, because I just am so intrigued by his skill set. It's like, if, again, it's like Chris Middleton-esque offense with elite defense. And again, I understand some of the question marks, but like, it's one of those things where if you can trade back into this late second round, like if let's say the Bucks trade both of their picks, but then and get a player, and all of a sudden you have a roster spot open, like trade into the late second, pick him up, and it's like he just has the potential to be, and I think he can play right away too. It's not even just like, oh, maybe 3 years down the road he could be good. He could play right away because of his defense. Like, he's that good on the defensive end, and he's solid offensively too. It's just a matter of, are those ACL injuries a big concern? And is he ready for NBA level competition? But dude, he has such an intriguing skill set that I am hoping we can somehow end up with him out of this draft.
Yeah, and I think, on the offensive side, I think some of the, driving to the hoop is kind of the stuff that maybe wouldn't be there right away. But
Yeah.
again, shooting translates. This guy has proven that he can be a shooter of multiple levels and, anywhere on the court. So, as you said, to come in with elite defense, and a guy like Thibault, he's one of the best defenders in the league. But the reason he can't even make all, these first team or second team all defense is because he can't get on the court because he's not good offensively. So, as you said, for a guy that could make an impact, I mean, um, you know, like you said, it'll be curious to watch, because this is a guy where it's like, if he's not in any mocks, it could be because people don't know, but the scouts really know. You're like, oh, this guy's like could be a steal in the 40s or 50s, or nobody just really pays attention to him and overlooks him because of the ACL injuries. So he'll
Yeah,
become,
I want to see, like, if he could randomly go like 28, if someone's like some other scouts are like seeing what we're seeing and like,
yeah,
holy crap, like this guy is a steal, like get him, nobody's talking about him, like let's get him whenever we can. Like, it'll be funny to see, like, if he goes and gets drafted in the, maybe late first or early mid second,
yeah.
or if he goes undrafted. I'm interested to see, because if he does go undrafted, that tells me that really either we're just completely missing something, which is probably the most likely case, or people just don't know about him and he never really made it onto anyone's radar. So yeah.
So would you be mad if the Bucks took him at 33?
No, I would not at all. Like, I don't think that it would, after the lottery or even after the top 10, I don't think there's even like such a thing as reaching in this draft. I think that everyone's on a pretty level playing field after like the top 10. And like, there's going to be guys available at 40 every year that's like this, but especially in this draft, I think there's going to be guys available at 45, 50 that you are like, oh, I thought that guy was going to go 25. And there's going to be guys that, go at 25 that you thought would be, I thought they were going to drop to 45, 50. So it's like, I'm not sitting here trying to plan out like too much. Okay, this guy at 23, this guy at 33, and like maximize the value and not reach for anyone. Like, screw that. In my opinion, it's like, if you like a guy in this draft, you take them. Like, I'm not kidding when I say the Bucks could take him at 23 and I would not be upset. I'd be like, they liked him. I like him. They took him at 23. Let's go. Like, I don't care where the consensus has him. I don't, like, just go get him, because maybe other teams liked him. Maybe someone else was going to take him at 26. And it's just like, go get your guys. in a draft like this, where it's it's kind of just a crapshoot after the top 10. You might as well just take the guys you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you're number 2.
All right, coming in at number 2, a guy that you were on before me, but I jumped on pretty quick too, is Jalen Bridges out of Baylor. Um, this is a guy where he has the defense and the athleticism that, you've said would be great for the Bucks, which I agree. Great on-ball defender, and I think especially off-ball, I think he just has that defensive awareness. Um, moves around well on offense, can cut to the hoop, but also has proven that he could be a solid shooter. One stat that I kind of found was 87% of his threes were assisted. So you're probably thinking like, well, what does that matter? That means that, I want to say he shot 41% from 3 last year. I'd have to double check. But the fact that he shot that well from 3 and, 85% of those were catch and shoot just proves that, he can translate that to the NBA level. You would expect, because usually that's what translates. So I'm excited about that part of it with him. Other than that, played 4 years in college. He has good size. He's about 6'9", 6'10". Thing with him though, little bit of limited upside and just kind of question his all around ability. But in terms of a good on ball defender who can guard 1 through 4, maybe even a small ball 5 in some instances, and that can shoot it, I think he's an intriguing guy to look at.
I'm very surprised that he's not higher on boards. Like he's someone that right away and like looking at doing my draft research, I was like, he's a 3-and-D guy that has proven he can do both of those, has proven he can play like a complementary role. I'd say the NBA, like it's just the type of archetype that the NBA totally values now. Again, 3-and-D, athletic, pretty big. Like I just was like, why is he barely getting drafted in these mocks? He's going 50, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I was very surprised, and he was someone right away. I was like, the Bucks should be able to get this guy, and I'd be very happy if they could. Yeah, he can hit threes. I like how he's a dynamic shooter. He's not someone that's totally just a standstill guy. Like he can hit him off screens. He can hit him off of the dribble. You can hit him just spotting up when he wants to. He was 50% shooting threes, or shooting catch and shoot threes unguarded. So lethal when left open, which is always a good sign. Like someone that like you cannot leave open. Yeah, I think he's smart cutting off the ball, finding open spots in the perimeter to shoot, which again is a big thing for a role player of like, not just okay, you can shoot when someone creates an open look for you, but like you can create open looks for yourself by moving around in the perimeter. You can shoot off of screens, you can shoot off the dribble. Like again, he's more dynamic than like just a traditional shooter. And yeah, when you add in the defense and how long he is and how smart and aware he is as a defender, I'm shocked he's not like a late first round pick in these drafts. So
Yeah.
would love Jalen Bridges. He is someone that we are very high on. My number 2 is Kevin McCullough from Kansas. This was my number 1 for a while, up until about like a week ago. But I love Kevin McCullough for the Bucks. I think he is maybe the highest floor player in the entire class. Like if you said you have to put $100 on someone to be, I don't know how you would define this, but you have to put $100 on someone to be a solid NBA player.
To play
Like
10 years in the NBA.
Yeah, 10 years as a decent NBA player. I'd probably put that money on Kevin McCullough. He is one of the best defenders in the nation. He was a Naismith Defensive Player of the Year finalist 3 years in a row. He's got size, length. He's plays super hard on the defensive end. He's versatile. He's a wing defender. 6'6", 205 pounds, 6'9" wingspan. He just is always locked in on defense. Like he's a defensive leader. He's not someone that, he's out there like telling guys where to be. He's out there directing the defense. He's super high IQ. I very much just like he's one of the more trustworthy defenders in the draft. Like again, Ryan Dunn's probably the most talented defender, but like a guy that's like, I want that dude leading my defense or like being out there on the defensive end of the court for my team. Kevin McCullough is right up there. And offensively, I think he's taken some leaps, and that's what's made him more of an NBA draft prospect this year compared to the last few years. Is he started to develop some offense. Um, he has become a solid shooter. He went from 29% his first year on 28 attempts to 28% on 46 attempts to 31% on 90 attempts to 30% on 98 attempts. None of those were good, but last season jumped to 33% on 117 attempts. So got that up to a decent percentage on good volume. So he's finally starting to show some ability to shoot the ball. Again, I like to look at unguarded catch and shoot threes to see how these guys are, you know, off the catch when left open, because those are usually the shots you're going to get playing around Giannis. Kevin McCullough last season, 45% on those threes, 19 of 42. So I believe he can hit threes when he's left open. And he does all of the glue guy things offensively that you need. Like, he's not going to handle the ball. He's not super flashy. He's not a big time scorer. Even though he did actually score like 18 points a game last season, he's not going to be a big time scorer at the next level. But he's a cutter. He's high IQ. He can, make some nice passes. He averaged 4 assists per game, so he can do a little bit of playmaking. He's a rebounder, 6 a game. He plays, again, extremely hard on both ends. So he's someone that you're like, to me, he brings a ton of winning skills and high IQ, as I've mentioned several times, like his versatility. There's so much I like about Kevin McCullough. The only downsides really for him that keep him from being higher in the draft class are he has a low ceiling because he's already 23 years old. He doesn't have an advanced offensive game. He's not much of a ball handler, and he's not a shot creator. He only shot 28% on dribble jumpers, so he's just not someone that's going to be in ISO scoring, but he is just, to me, an ideal type of role player for the NBA. And I compared him to Josh Hart, someone that, again, plays hard, defense, toughness, rebounding, can play make a little bit, can shoot it when he needs to, but doesn't need to handle the ball a ton or do a ton of scoring to be effective. And that's, like, again, a guy that I would love on the Bucks is Josh Hart, like that type of player. Now, do I think Kevin McCullough will be Josh Hart? Maybe. I'm not totally sure, but like, even, he's probably not gonna be that in year one, but even if he's not, I think in year one, he could be a, little bit a worse version of Josh Hart, which I think is valuable to the Bucks. And I would be very happy with the Bucks taking him. He should be available probably at 33. If not, if they really want him, take him at 23, but I'd very much like.
He seems like a guy Boston could go for too at 30 of just, let's get
Yeah, they
another guy
probably
that
will.
could D in 3, But
And by the way, I'd also wanted to mention the only other thing too that negative with him is he does have a little bit of injury history. He missed the tournament last season with injury. Some of that is just because he's a draft prospect, didn't want to risk it playing in the tournament. But he has had a couple injuries throughout his career. But again, nothing to me that is like super alarming. I think as long as he can stay healthy, like, he just brings so many winning intangibles on the court. So
he doesn't have that dog in him.
oh, he has the dog in him. Trust me. He's one of the top. I think he's like a top 14 dog in the class.
Top 14, okay. So he's a lottery dog.
He's a lottery dog, exactly. All right, number 1. Let's go.
Yeah. Number 1 is a guy, I put him at number 1 mainly because I don't think he'll fall to us, but I have Tristan da Silva out of Colorado. He was a 4-year guy. I really like his upside. It's just again, you used it with McCullough, but just a glue guy of he can defend. He's very versatile. He's not ultra athletic, but he's kind of athletic enough to, defensively hold his own. He's an okay rebounder, only average about 5 rebounds, and I think his upside is somewhat limited. But he averaged about 17 points a game, shot 39% from 3 for his career in college. And yeah, I mean, like I said, he's a very switchable defender that, if you're looking for a guy who can go out there and play 25 minutes and guard the best guy on the other team, and then also be able to spot him up for 3, I think this is a great fit. But again, I think he probably goes just after the lottery, probably before the 20s. So that's why I have him at number 1, because if he would slide, I would be like, we need to take him. He's a win now ready guy.
Yeah. I don't think he probably unlikely he's available for us, but I would say outside chance. Like I've seen him to us in a couple mocks where it's like, okay, there's a chance he falls a little bit. Um, but yeah, I like him. I actually he was another guy I kind of thought I would like a little bit more when I looked into him. Like I was expecting to absolutely love him. I definitely like him. He's, as you said, 3 and D, pretty good floor. He can move well. He's got size. Um, does those glue guy things as like a passer, good decision maker, cutter, all that stuff. But I'm not totally sold on his defense being like good at the next level. I think he can be solid, but I think he is a little bit slow, a little bit like lacking some physicality sometimes, and that gives me a little bit of hesitation with that. Whereas compared to, again, someone like McCullers just more of like toughness, physical, like not afraid to really bang with guys, and like he's just kind of as we said, a dog on defense. I don't know if Tristan da Silva's got quite that level of dog in him
Yeah.
and explosiveness or athleticism or anything. Like if he gets drafted in the top 20, he would be one of like the least flashy top 20 prospects, or if, I should say lottery. If he goes in the lottery, he'd probably be one of the least flashy lottery picks we've seen in quite some time. Because there's nothing totally flashy about him, but he's just like a solid role player that I think will, be able to contribute for a team right away. So like, yeah, I think the Bucks definitely could, if he fell, like I definitely could see them grabbing him, bringing him in. He's a forward off the bench that can do those 3 and D things, can bring you some glue guy skills offensively. I compared him to, I don't know if this is a good comparison or if you think it is, prime Nick Batum.
Yeah, I can see that a little bit. I think he's got a little bit of like the Franz in him. I don't think his ceiling's as high as what Franz could be. And I don't want to say that just because they're both German.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that similar style where, like I said, he's not super athletic and like he's not like Franz is also a better defender. But I think he's got the potential there. And I think Batum's a good one. And I think he's got that spot up shooting of like prime Batum with a little bit
Yeah.
more of like a little bit more craftiness in my opinion. But I think that's a pretty good comp.
Yeah, he is a really good shooter. I don't want to gloss over that. 40% on 5 attempts per 36 minutes, which is very, very good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he can shoot, he can pass, and he's got some defensive versatility, very smart. Like that's a good combination of skills to have as a role
Yeah.
player. So definitely again, another kind of similar to McCullough, like a low ceiling, high floor guy, which those are the type of guys I'd prefer the Bucks to take, guys that you think can come in and contribute right away.
Yeah.
Definitely would be happy with him. My number one guy, who I believe is he your number one guy too overall from Arizona?
Yes, he's definitely my
All
number
right.
one now for them.
I have convinced Brandon as well to be number one for this guy. Pella Larson from Arizona. He is our guy right now. I think he's a like very good role player, kind of hiding in plain sight in the mid-second round right now. He's going like 43 to 47 in a lot of mocks. And to me, I don't get why he is. Like I keep searching for reasons to like not like him and be like, oh, this is why people are down on him. Oh, okay, I understand now why he's in the second round. I don't get it. I don't know why he's so low. Pella Larson, I mean, he can do pretty much everything on the court. 6'6", 215 pounds, 6'8" wingspan, 42% on catch and shoot threes, 47% when unguarded, 47% on jumpers off the dribble, which is in the 95th percentile. Very, very good. 63% on shots at the rim, 73rd percentile. Very good. 4.1 rebounds, 3.7 assists. He's athletic. He can create out of the pick and roll. He hustles. Like, I don't know what there is not to like about him other than he's an older prospect. So he's 23 and maybe doesn't have crazy upside. But like, usually when someone can do all these things, the reason is like, okay, they're not athletic, which so it's probably might not translate and all that. Like, he's athletic enough, he's big enough, he's like can do so many things that I'm like, I don't know how it doesn't translate at least a little bit. Um, to me, he's like a Dante DiVincenzo or Christian Brown type. Maybe not that level of athleticism, but close to it. Um, again, the combination of skills to me is like just a dream role player that can defend, shoot, handle the ball a little bit when you need him to, play make. He had again the hustle plays, has athleticism that he can play in transition and stuff. Like he can do pretty much everything and be like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely love him. I think he should be available for the Bucks, and if they could end up with him at 33, again, I mean, like I said, with this draft, I don't care where they take guys. I'd be fine with him at 23, but like if they could end up with him in any way, I would be very thrilled.
Yeah, I think especially, if you're for anyone out there that's looking him up now, maybe he's just really smooth. He can get to the basket. And also we threw, I know you threw Bogdanovich out there. His spot up ability and really his shooting form reminds me a lot of either Bogdanovich or Dante. And the way that he can drive to the hoop reminds me a lot of Christian Brown now on Denver. And I think it's just that style of player where and I want to bring it into it, but sometimes white guys have like the older, not super athletic label. But I think he's just one of those guys where, like you said, he's kind of like that sneaky athleticism where like he just really good at everything. You can't really say like, oh, he struggles at this. Like he's at least solid at pretty much everything. And even some of his flashes of passing in his highlights were really good. So I really like the upside with him. Like I said, you've convinced me that I would be super happy with him at 23. And it seems like there's a good chance he could go there unless, people just don't know something and teams are talking about him differently behind the scenes.
And I think even if he comes to into the NBA and ends up being like early career Dante, who wasn't that good, like that's still a really good player to have for where he's going to be drafted, which is probably in the second round. Like that's early career Dante was still like solid defender, solid shooter. Again, had that athleticism, had a little bit of like ball handling ability. He never was like, I guess the one knock on Pelle Larson might be like he's they say jack of all trades, master of none. Like he can do all these things at
Mhm.
a good level, but maybe he's not great at one thing. Um, he can defend a little bit, he can shoot a little bit, he can ball handle a little bit, all that, but like maybe there's not one thing he can hang his hat on. But I think at some point when you can do that many things at a good level, like you're just a good basketball player and
Yeah.
you're going to learn, you're going to develop those things even further at the next level. And like, I am very, very intrigued watching him. And as you said, like he's definitely someone where when you watch him, he's smooth. And I think that's something you can't really, just reading about a guy, you can't tell that. You can't, looking at numbers, you can't tell that. It's like, but you got to watch a guy to really see and be like, oh, this guy just like he kind of glides around in the court. Oh, his shot is smooth and he gets
Yeah.
to the rim and has a soft touch and all that stuff. Like you can see it on highlights and see it when you actually watch him play. Similar to like I remember when I watched Jalen Williams, the good Jalen Williams on the Thunder, a couple years ago, and like I read about him and I was like, okay, this guy's intriguing. And then I watched him and I was like, he just like looks like an NBA player. Like he's
Yeah.
long and he moves really well. He's super smooth with his shot. Like I was like, this guy just looks good. So, there's guys like that. And I think, yeah, Pelle Larson's one of them. And so, yeah, we're both fully on board the Pelle Larson train. So yeah, those are our 10 guys. We had, just to go through them all, Jalen Bridges, Khalil Ware, Baylor Shireman, Tristan Da Silva, Bobby Klintman, Deron Holmes, Isaiah Crawford, Pelle Larson, Kevin McCullough, and Keishad Johnson. Those were our 10 favorite guys in this draft class. Again, Bucks have the 23rd and 33rd picks. We're going to be, so next Wednesday is the first round. Next Thursday is the second round. We are going to be going live, I believe, at least for when the Bucks are near on the clock. It gets to like pick 20 or something. I'll be going live on Twitter and get our reactions to the pick. I know over the last couple of years we've had a lot of people joining right as our pick is
Yeah.
coming in, and people are like, I'm like, we're hiding the comments because I'm like, I don't want to see who they picked. Don't tell me who they picked. And like I remember when they drafted Marzion, and we were like, everyone's jumping in. There's like 500 people in there, and we're just
Yeah.
like, Bucks select Marzion Beauchamp. It was I'm excited for that again this year. So we'll
Yeah.
see. I'm fully expecting it to be Baylor Shireman, and I'll be a little bit disappointed. Brandon will be very happy. And I have to hear about how Baylor Shireman is going to be, the perfect role player.
Hey, you know what though? If we get Sherman at 23 and then they somehow get Larson at 33, I think we'll both come out of that night very happy.
Yes,
You got two.
yes, yes. But at the same time, though, those are two similar-ish players of like
Yeah.
just like wings. I'd rather try to. I will say this: my ideal draft, if they're going to use both picks, my ideal draft is trade the picks. As we've said, try to get a proven player. You're a win now team. I think ideally you trade the picks, package them with Bobby, Pat, whatever you need to. But if you're going to use both, I think ideally I would take Deron Holmes 23 and Pella Larson 33. So you have a big that can play a little bit right now, but you can also gear up to be the guy after Brooke. And everyone has a little bit more confidence in the center position going forward for them. And then you also have Pella Larson who can come in, be a contributor right away if Doc gives him minutes. Be a contributor right away and do a bunch of things on both ends of the court. So I I think that would be probably my ideal 2 picks if I had to if they were using both and I had to pick guys. So
Let me throw you a quick trade proposal off the top of our heads. Denver, who I think has been linked pretty heavily to Holmes, supposedly are
yes,
promised
yeah,
to him. They offer the 28th pick and Zeke Naji for number 23. What are you saying if you're the Bucks?
yes.
I actually liked Najee when he came out. I think he's still got a little bit of untapped potential. I haven't watched him enough recent to truly know, but that would be an interesting thing where you get a guy with a little bit of upside, young guy. You trade back, then you maybe take Larson, and you still have 33, which you can either trade out or you get another guy there.
Yeah, there's not a guy like Holmes is intriguing to me, but I'm not like, oh my god, the Bucks need to have him. Like I think you could get guys that are just as intriguing at 28, and so it's like if you could pick up Zeke Najee, I would do it. So, yeah, I'm not too like again, I'm pretty open to trading any of these picks. I'd be fine trading down and being like, okay, the Bucks traded, you know, whatever the 23rd pick to get 50 and 2 future second round picks. And now they have a little bit more ammo and they can still use 50 on, Jalen Bridges, Isaiah Crawford, whoever.
Yeah.
And then you have more future picks to use. Like that might be what they do. They might trade picks to get seconds or get a future first, by trading the 23rd pick and just like get more assets rather than use guys or get guys in this draft that you can use in trades later. So like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. There's so many ways they could go. So we will see. But draft is in 6 days, everyone. And yeah, we'll see what the Bucks do. Thank you all for joining. We will catch you guys next time. Peace out.